You weren't the firstborn, the one every milestone was photographed for. You weren't the youngest, the one who could cry their way out of anything. You were in the middle, the one who learned to read the room before anyone taught you how. The one who made themselves smaller so there was enough space for everyone else. The one who, somewhere along the way, stopped asking, because the answer was always in a minute, and that minute never came. If that landed somewhere specific, stay with this. Part 1. The Science of Being Overlooked. Birth order psychology isn't just dinner table conversation. It's being studied seriously. Frank Sulloway, an evolutionary psychologist at MIT, spent decades analyzing birth order across cultures and centuries. His finding, middle children are the most likely to diverge from family norms, not out of rebellion for its own sake, but because divergence was the only available path to distinction. The firstborn inherits the identity. The youngest gets handed one. The middle child has to construct theirs, usually outside the home, usually alone. A 2020 study in the Journal of Individual Differences found that middle children scored higher on openness to experience and social adaptability than their siblings. Worth noting, not every large-scale study on birth order finds strong effects. The research is genuinely mixed, but the pattern that does replicate consistently across multiple studies and cultures is this one. Middle children develop social fluency and adaptability at a rate their siblings typically don't. Those traits look like strengths on the surface, and they are, but they didn't come for free. They came from a child who learned very early that visibility has to be earned, and that belief, quiet as it is, doesn't stay in childhood. Part 2. The Peacemaker. And the suppressed self. Ask a middle child how they handle conflict. I just don't like drama. I'd rather keep the peace. This sounds emotionally evolved. Sometimes it genuinely is. But more often, it's a survival strategy that outlived its original purpose. Growing up between two siblings means growing up between two competing moods, two competing bids for attention. The middle child learns fast. The safest position is the one who doesn't make things worse. So they mediate, they absorb, they smooth things over, and privately, they suppress. Because in childhood, their emotional needs consistently got filed under not urgent. You give loyalty without keeping score. You ask for almost nothing. And when you're finally hurting, you've already convinced yourself it isn't a big deal. This isn't emotional strength. It's emotional displacement. And there is a difference. Part 3. The Quiet Revolution. This is the part about middle children that almost never gets discussed. They are, statistically, the most quietly revolutionary people in any room. Sulloway's research found that middle children are disproportionately represented among social reformers and leaders who built change through coalition rather than force. Martin Luther King Jr. was a middle child. So was Bill Gates. So, notably, was Nelson Mandela, someone who spent decades negotiating between forces that wanted nothing to do with each other. Not because the middle produces greatness automatically, but because it produces people who are fluent in holding opposing forces together, who had to find their own path without a script, and who know what it feels like to be dismissed. That last part matters. People who have been overlooked tend to notice who else is being overlooked, and this revolution rarely announces itself. It looks like being the first in your family to move abroad, the first to change careers entirely, the one who quietly builds a life that looks nothing like what was expected without making a scene about it. Middle children don't revolt loudly. They simply leave and build something entirely on their own terms. Part 4. What? Gender and family size change. The middle child experience isn't monolithic. Two variables shift it significantly. Gender. Middle daughters tend to internalize the invisible experience more deeply. They are more likely to develop the self-erasing patterns, the excessive mediation, the reflexive people-pleasing. Middle sons, by contrast, are more likely to externalize it, channeling the need for distinction into competition, risk-taking, or early independence. Neither is a clean outcome. Both are adaptations. Family size. In a 3-child family, the middle child has a defined position. One older, one younger. The contrast is sharp. In families of 5 or more, the experience diffuses. There may be multiple middles, which can either dilute the pressure or compound it, depending on how attention is distributed. The core pattern holds across both, but how it surfaces in adult behavior depends heavily on these variables. Part 5. What it looks like at 30. You're an adult now, and you notice you're fiercely independent, partially by design, partially because self-reliance was the only thing that was always available. You've been told your whole life that you're easy to be around, but you can count on one hand the people who actually know you. You don't ask for help, not out of pride, but because somewhere deep you're still expecting the answer to be not right now. You're excellent in a crisis. You stay calm when everything is falling apart. People rely on this about you. What they don't see is that you learned to stay calm because chaos was the background noise of your childhood and calm was the only way to be noticed at all. These aren't personality traits you were born with. They're adaptations, built young, carried forward. The difference between an adaptation and a limitation is seeing it clearly, reclaiming your space, a real framework. Stop earning your place. The belief that you have to be useful, agreeable, or low maintenance to deserve belonging, that was installed early. It was never true. Name it when you feel it. I'm shrinking again. That awareness alone begins to break the pattern. Learn the difference between peacekeeping and self-erasure. You can hold space for someone else's pain without disappearing from the conversation. Presence doesn't require silence about your own experience. Practice asking for things without softening the ask into nothing. Middle children are fluent in I don't mind either way, and whatever works for you. Start replacing those with what you actually want, even in small things, especially in small things. Let someone see the full version. You are practiced at being likable, warm, and easy. Most people in your life have a curated version of you. Give someone the unedited one. It will feel exposing. That discomfort is the point. The reframe that changes everything. I don't have to earn my place anymore. Not as affirmation, as fact. You were always allowed to be here. Closing. The firstborn was the experiment. The youngest was the celebration. And you were the one who held everything together. In between. Quietly. Without being asked. Without being thanked. You became the bridge between people who couldn't talk to each other, the translator in rooms that didn't know they needed one, the person who understood every side because you had lived beside all of them. That's not a consolation prize. That is one of the rarest things a human being can be. The world doesn't run on the loudest voice or the most protected one. It runs on the people who can stand in the middle of opposing forces and hold. You've been doing that your whole life. It's time you did it for yourself too.